Speed wobbles are no joke. They can be incredibly dangerous, and if you're lucky enough to walk away from one, you'll never forget it. Speaking from experience. Now, a steering damper can help reduce that risk by improving handling and stability. And in this video, I'll unbox, pre-install and install the Ohlins SD055 damper on my R6 here. Now, the same steps apply to most stem-mounted dampers, and I'll walk you through each stage. I'll highlight all the hiccups that I ran into so that you can avoid them and be prepared. And after that, we'll go for a test ride through the canyons. I'll share my honest take on the pros and cons of this upgrade. So please subscribe if you haven't already. My name is Max and welcome to 32.6. Now, before any installation, I always do a pre-installation, which maps everything out visually and makes everything a lot more coherent. So you want the washer, plastic washer, then you want to put the sleeve into the frame bracket assembly there, just at the bottom in that orientation, and the top of the steering bracket assembly that goes on top like that. Make sure you also loosen the two Allen key bolts that are on the frame bracket assembly, because you're going to need to slide your steering damper in there. But don't do it now as I'm doing in the video. This is just to visually show you. You can do that later on, because if you do it now, it's going to make it a little bit difficult. And now I'm laying everything out. Make sure you get some Loctite, have the correct tools, and you're going to need a couple of different Allen keys and a socket to remove your steering stem nut. You're also going to need a torque wrench too, by the way. Okay, so this is everything visually. Let's get into the actual installation now. Start off by removing any accessories you have on your stem. In my case, I'm removing the quad lock stem mount. If you have a tight stem bolt, protect its surface with tape before attempting removal so you don't damage or scratch it. In fact, make sure you just apply that tape beforehand, because regardless of it being tight or not, you want to protect that surface. If the bolt is extremely tight and won't budge, here's a method that usually helps. Spray a penetrating oil such as WD-40 Penetrate around the bolt and let it sit there for about 15 minutes. Then apply it with the heat gun. Lightly tap the bolt with a mallet to help break any thread lock or corrosion. Now be prepared to use some elbow grease, and remember to keep the bolt protected if you're applying a lot of force. Next, remove the bolt from the gas tank and the bolt from the triple clamp. Make sure you're using the correct tools to avoid stripping or damaging any hardware. Position your lower frame bracket assembly onto the bike. The bracket and stem nut go on first, then place the shims last. I initially forgot to install the bracket assembly and shims at the correct stage, which meant I had to remove the bolt again, knocking out the shims out of place. Here's the correct order: bracket assembly, steering stem nut, and finally the shims. Once everything is lined up correctly, tighten the stem bolt to 100 Newton meters or follow your manufacturer's recommended torque spec. Slide the Ohlins steering damper through the bracket and use medium strength thread locker, blue Loctite, on all bolts. Then install the triple clamp bracket onto the damper, again using Loctite. Torque all bolts to their recommended specifications. And if you follow your instructions in the manual, it has it all listed there very clearly. Hand tighten the triple clamp bracket and single bolt in the middle of the frame bracket assembly, but do not fully tighten the two damper bolts yet. This allows you to move the damper for proper alignment. Now you want to turn the handlebars fully to the left and to the right to ensure there's no interference. Now, if the bracket isn't centered, adjust it until everything lines up and clears. Once you're satisfied, tighten the damper bolts in a crisscross pattern, then torque everything to factory specs. A bit of play in a damper is normal, and this is how it should look like when it's centered. Now with that done, let's take it out on the road and see how it performs. Alright guys, I'm in the hills putting the Ohlins SD055 steering damper through its paces. Now we're going to talk about how it feels. Let's perform a U-turn and see if it's stiff. It's already feeling a little bit stiff. Oh yeah, definitely stiffer. That's definitely a con, but now it was to expect it. Alright, so here we go now. Oh yeah, definitely wants to boogie. Just wants to flick. I love this feeling. Alright, so I definitely immediately noticed that the front end is much more stable. Yeah, the bike feels planted. Yeah, there's far less head shake when it's coming out of the corners and that hard acceleration. It's definitely boosted my confidence when leaning into turns. I feel like I can trust the front tire a lot more. On the downside though, the U-turn and tight maneuvers are tougher. Because the steering dampener stiffens the steering, you'll need more effort to navigate at slow speed corners or parking lots, I'd say. I guess that's where the adjuster comes in handy. Oh yeah, I'm feeling super confident on this bike. I mean, if you're commuting around the city or just cruising around 40 miles an hour, I will dial it back a little bit lighter. But since I'm here ripping through the canyons, I'm going to crank it up for extra stability. Now, many riders do say that dampers really shine on track days or spirited rides, as I'm on right now, and I definitely agree. It soaks up any front end wobbles and reduces fatigue. I think on these longer rides, I'm going to feel at ease. Overall, I just really love how it feels planted, and you can really carry more speed through the corners without the bars going light or shaky. I guess if you're looking for a tighter and more responsive handling, especially in fast or bumpy situations, this Ohlins damper is a solid upgrade. Just remember to adjust it according to your riding style and environment. And dial it in for softer settings if you're riding in the city, or crank it up for aggressive canyon carving or track sessions, as what I'm doing right now. Alright guys, this is my take, and I hope this helps anyone considering a steering damper. Ride safe guys, make sure you subscribe to this channel, and if you want to see videos of me just riding, please let me know. Rubber side up brothers, I mean down, rubber side down.